To make our piece today, we're going to be starting off with a cute little heart wood button. I also have 3 different colors of Czech Glass rondelles. They're a 6x9 size. And I've got about 23mm fire polish. I also have 2 8/0 seed beads. I have about 2 meters of S-Long cording. And for our tools, I'm going to just be using a pair of sharp scissors, a pair of tweezers, and if I can't get my cording through a bead, I've got one of these large eye needles, and that I'll show you how you use that. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is find the 2 ends of my cording, and when we send this to you, we will wrap it up on a little card so that it doesn't get all tangled, because this can get tangled fairly easily. I'm just going to move some of this stuff out of the way. So you want to find your 2 ends and then just pop it through the holes and kind of keep them equal, and then bring that down, and then we're going to tie our first knot. So the way that I tie my knots is I go around 2 fingers and then I pull the tails up through, and then I take my tweezers, I go down through the loop, and then I place my tweezer noses, I guess, or nose, the end of the tweezers, let's call it that. I put that right where I want my knot to be, and then I sort of straighten it up, and then I pull straight up. So you can see that's about what we want. So we don't want it like crammed right on top, but it is fairly close there. So one of the things you want to do is cut these on a really sharp angle, and try to have really good scissors with you, because if your scissors fray the ends, then it makes it just that much more difficult. Now I'm going to be using a couple of these 8/0 seed beads to sort of provide a little bit of an extender. When I was creating this, I found that without this little bit of an extender in there, it was awfully hard to do up. So having these cut on a sharp angle will make all the difference. And you're going to have tons of S-Long, so don't worry about trimming it too often. It doesn't matter. Okay, so we've got our first knot, and then we've got our first 8/0 seed bead. And I'm always asked, what does the "ought" mean? And it's just, you know, I actually asked Jill Wiseman when I was visiting her, what does that mean? And it's like an old time measurement thing that they used to use. And it essentially means 0. But, and I guess it's just the way that they described beads was by using the "ought." So it doesn't really mean anything. That's just what seed beads go by, like 6/0, 8/0. And it's just like you'll see an 8 and then a slash and then a 0. And that 0 represents the "ought." So hopefully that answers that question. It doesn't really, you know, mean too much to me. It's just kind of what they've called them, I suppose. All right, now I'm going to put my second one on and make sure that those are still unfrayed on the ends. Now, if you're smart, which, you know, I'm not, because I always just do these things at the very last minute on the weekend when I have time. But what you can do is you can take the very ends of this S-Long the day before you're going to make this, and you can put some glue on it. And like what I would do is just take a little bit of, you know, whatever kind. You can even use Elmer's, just a bit of glue on the very ends. Run it down on either one. So you're going to just run some glue on either end, make it sort of so it's straight, and not too much glue because you need it to be fine. And beforehand, cut it on a sharp angle, and then let that sit overnight. And that will create a couple needles on the end. So there's all kinds of like little troubleshooting things that you can do to make life easier. All right, so we're going to do our knot, go through the hole, place the tool right where I want that knot, and that's where I want it, and then pull straight up. I don't want to pull it on an angle because then my knot may sit on an angle. So that's what we're doing there to create a little bit of an extender. So now we're going to start with our 6x9 rondelles, and I'm going to show you the pattern, and then I'm going to swap out to the other one to show you how to finish it off. So the pattern is going to be 3 of this one color. So I've got this beautiful seafoam kind of green, and so just wrap that around your finger, pull that through. It's just the same thing over and over and over again, but I want to make sure you see how I do it. Place that right on top. Don't leave a gap or else you'll have a gap. And then I just take my tweezers and kind of run down. And there we've got our knotted piece. So I'm going to repeat that a couple more times here. And always be mindful of those ends that they're still nice and sharp like that. And I will show you how to use the large hole needle. I don't think we'll include them in the kit because I really didn't need it when I was making it, but just in case you have problems, they're a really good thing to have because sometimes, you know, some beads just get stuck and you just can't get things through them. And instead of getting, you know, upset and fretting over it, it's best just to have one of these large hole needles. So you would want to use one at a time. So I'll show you now. So what you would do is just take one and run it through the end. And the only reason we're doing one is because otherwise we're going to have 4 pieces going through here. So you would take the end, put it through your bead, and then you just pull through. And then you would repeat with the other one. So it just helps get things through smaller holes. So I use them all the time in projects. They're a really helpful tool. So I will make sure to link those in the description box below. The ones that we have for sale are a little different. This is just one that I grabbed. It's a little bit of a longer style, but they're a really great little thing to have around. So go around your fingers, pull that through, and take the end of your tweezers, place it right where you want that knot, and pull up. Now, everybody has a different way of knotting. If you know how to knot in a different way, then, you know, knot in a different way. It's just, there's no right or wrong really to it. It's just the way that I do it, and I found that I have the most consistent knots doing it this way. All right, next we're going to use this beautiful, I don't even know what this color was called, but it's, oops, I'm banging things around here. It's a really beautiful, rusty, coppery, kind of cool color. And I thought that was kind of a nice contrast. I like, when I'm creating my jewelry, I'm always thinking about things that are unusual. Something that's maybe a contrast or, I don't know, just something that brings some interest so that it looks a little different, right? Because I could make this piece with just all the same color, but that might be a bit boring. And then we have this beautiful blue Picasso that is just stunningly gorgeous. I love that. So see if I can get that through. It might have blunted out a bit because I put it through the needle, but you just cut it on an angle and it should go through. And if not, to save time on a video, we'll just run that through the end. Now you'll see that when you put it through a bead, don't look at my awful nails today, that it will kind of, you know, it'll sort of tighten up there. But what I do is I just take the end of my tweezers gently, because you can break that. So I just do that and then run it through the bead. There we go. And then just, it's got to make sure it's going through there. A lot of things for me to hold on under the camera, and then just pull and it goes through. So, you know, I would definitely have those around if you're going to be using something like an S-long cording just to make life easier. So go around, and generally, you know, like I said, I didn't need it at all when I was making my sample, but the odd bead could give you some grief. You can put the end right where you want it, pull up, and if it does what this one's kind of, no, that one didn't do it too bad, but what you can do is you can pull either side of the cording to make sure that your cording is knotting up nicely. So if it kind of separates a little bit, pull one side and then pull the other. So I always like to give you lots of troubleshooting tips when I'm creating so that if you have problems, you'll know what to do. So around the fingers. I think knotting is one of my favorite techniques. I mean, you know that I do the barrel knots all the time with leather. So I, of course, love that kind of knotting. But I think tying knots like this is one of my favorite things to do. It's very cathartic. It's rhythmic. I find it easy to do, except when I can't get my S-long to go through, I get frustrated. But, you know, what would jewelry be making if you didn't get frustrated a little bit? But I don't know, I've always loved it. It's the thing I could do over and over and over again. And I could probably do these with my eyes closed because I've done so many. And I've got, you know, a fairly good rhythm that I've created. So now you can see this one has kind of, it's gone up a little bit. It didn't kind of come down. So just pull one side and you can see that popped on right where I wanted it to. So if they separate, just pull one cord instead of both. So this is going to be the end of our pattern. So I'm going to put one of these on in that really fun color that I should have looked up before I started this video. Okay, so that's starting to get a little blunt because we've been, you know, we've gone through quite a few beads already. So just trim away and then it should make it a bit easier to get through there. There we go. So sharp scissors, that's the key. And then go around my fingers. Pull that through. And find where you want it and then pull straight up. Make sure you give it a good tug and then pull down. There we go. So that's our pattern. It's going to be 3 of these sort of seafoam with Picasso, then one of these beautiful sort of coppery kind of ones, and then we've got our 3 blue Picasso and then another coppery one, and then you'll repeat. So that is going to be the pattern. So I'm going to swap it out with the one that I made earlier and show you how to finish this off. All right, so there we go. I've swapped it out for the one that I've completed. Now this will give you enough to fit a fairly large wrist. And we're going to add a little bit of an extender to create our clasp. And it's going to give us just a little bit more length. So I'm going to use 9 of these on one side. So they're pretty easy to get on. They have enough of a hole to just get that one strand through. Makes that pretty easy. And we're going to keep a couple extras for the ends because, like I said at the beginning, at least I think I did, that I'm not too sure how I'm going to finish this off. And you know, when you are creating, and if you buy this as a kit, because this will be available in kit form, you can alter the kit. You don't have to make it exactly the way that I made it. So if you like something a little different on the end, then create something different on the end. You know, we just provide you with what you need and you can kind of run with it. So this is starting to get really frayed. So I'll just give that another little trim. And how many do I have on there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to put 9 on there. I want a little bit of a larger kind of clasp. Okay, so I'm going to do that on one side. So and all I did was end with a knot on the end there. And then now I'm going to put on my other side. And you can really hear my air conditioner, so I apologize if it's causing some distortion with the video. But boy, it gets very hot in my filming room with all these lights on. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I need a little bit of a fan. All right, give that another trim. So we got 3 on there. Hopefully I'm in camera. I did a whole video last week and the entire thing was off frame. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do this whole thing all over again, which is really frustrating. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9. So now if you want to make this a little bit smaller, again, it's your piece. You can do whatever you like, but I'm going to put 9 on there. So I'm just going to make sure that they're even, and then I'm going to create a knot and push that through with my fingers. And then I'm going to take my tweezers, go through the hole, and then I'm going to place the tweezers right where I want that knot. So you might have to adjust this a little bit to make sure that they're even. And then you're just going to pull up. And that's as much as we need to do. But now what I am going to do is do another knot. I want to kind of make sure that's not going anywhere. And I go down and then I place my tweezers right on top of that first knot. So I'm going to go right about there and just do that. I also like the look of a little beefier knot. You could have done that right here too. I probably would do that, create an extra sort of beefy knot. That creates a nice look. Now we can kind of embellish the end any way that you want. We can take these extra, you'll get 2 extra of the 3 millimeter faceted fire polish, and you can, you know, just put it on the end. You can run it to about here and then create a knot. So you can kind of just do whatever you like. So I would still do the same process. I would make a decision as to where I want it. So I think I want it about there, and create a little knot. And then I would do a second knot, just because you don't want that bead to pop off the knot. It shouldn't, because the hole isn't that large, but I just want to make sure. So I'm going to go right over top of that other knot and then just tighten it up. And sometimes you have to take your tool out. All right, so that's going to just kind of dangle like that. So you could put a knot on either side, or you can just have it free floating. Again, these are completely adaptable. You just kind of, you know, do whatever you like, because I've had people say, oh, I wouldn't finish the end like that. Oh, okay, that's great. You just do whatever makes you happy. So you could do them exactly the same, and I think I'm going to do mine the same. I'm going to try and have them similar, or should I offset? You know what, maybe to make life easy, I'll offset them, because then I don't have to worry about them being exactly even. So I'm just going to pop that through, and then I'm going to put that through the hole, and then I'm just going to find where I want to put it. You know, they're probably going to end up fairly close to each other, but I'm going with whatever it does, because sometimes it's just easier to do that. All right, so I'm going to do one more knot. Now you could take a little bit of GS Hypo glue and put a tiny bit of glue on the end of these knots to make sure that there's no problem with them coming apart. And this one I've got to pull backwards on it a bit because it kind of got away from me. There we go. All right, so they're a little bit offset. And then we're going to just trim that off. Trim that one off a little more. And let me just kind of clean up and then show you what we've got here. Okay, so now we've got this adorable bracelet, and we've got that really cute clasp on there, and it creates a little extra length on there too, which is what I wanted. So now, of course, this one fits me. I've got a large wrist. So when you're making your own, you're probably going to have to remove some of these. So you can change up the pattern if you want, or you can just, you know, leave off some of the beads, but you're going to want to measure to see, you know, what's going to fit you. This is going to add about an extra inch on the end by the time you're done. So you want to kind of, you know, do a little bit of math and make sure that that's going to fit. So there you go. There's the piece. I really hope that you like this one. It was super fun to create, and I mean, I've made stuff like this before, but nothing that looked exactly like this one, and I thought the color combinations were just beautiful together, and I really liked the kind of a clasp ending here, just something different. So if you did like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, as I do love to hear from everybody, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please make sure that you do so. This will be available in kit form, and I will put the link in the description box below the video. You just click on it and it will take you directly to my fully secure website where you can shop for this kit and all the supplies you ever need. We've got over 9,000 items on our website. So I want to thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.